Do you want to pick or am I picking?
Oh, where do we go? Where do we go? You pick. I don't know.
I'm just going down the line. Kelly.
God-based physics. Yeah, go. Kelly. Yeah. Kelly.
God-based
hey, Kelly.
physics. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for calling the Atheist Experience. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome.
The first thing I want to do is, if I can, address Michael. Michael, I'm a theist. Please, Michael, don't come in and represent Christianity anymore. That was absurd. We're not God.
Yeah.
Please,
a little bit. Don't worry about Michael, though. Let's talk about what's up with you, Kelly.
What's on your mind?
Let's talk about me. Sure. That's fine. I just sat here and listened, and I thought, oh, my goodness, what is that man doing? Okay, so anyway, I'm here to make the case for the existence of God, and it's going to be more of a, I don't know what you would call a physical approach to evidence that I want to make.
Okay.
So
make it. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm only here for the existence. I'm only here to make the argument for the existence of God. I'm not arguing Christianity. That's a completely different argument. So I hear that. I heard you guys, or maybe Robin did, I don't know, that ventured into that. And that's just, those are two different arguments to make. So I'd be happy to do that. But if we can.
Well, why don't we're kind of short on, we got a lot of callers and running out of time. So just go ahead and make your specific argument, not talk about everybody else. How about that?
All right. So it's David and Shannon, right? Let me just get sure I get the names right. Okay. So we both have hypotheses. You have an atheistic hypothesis, and I have a theistic hypothesis. Both of us have to reach into reality and see if our hypothesis is true. Both of us have to do that. So these are the attributes that I believe God has to have. If you're going to make the claim that God does exist, then these are the necessary aspects of God. A necessary existence, independent of cause, can create, can choose to do so, and also has the free will and intention. Those are my aspects of God. So, I think we can say that existence is a fact. We do actually exist. And our existence is dependent, not independent. Would you agree?
Dependent on?
Yeah, dependent on what?
My point is that you guys both have dependent. They're called parents. So do I. I'm just saying that everything here is dependent on cause and effect.
So had something preceded us, we wouldn't be here. Had something not preceded us, rather.
I'm sorry, one more time, I didn't hear you.
You're basically saying had some
I didn't hear
set
you.
of circumstances not preceded our existence, we wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah, that's the argument I'm making. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Would we agree?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my first point is important. Reality can't exist only on dependent causes. That is the problem, as it depends on unending series of events, which inside time is simply problematic.
So this is just like the contingency argument, right?
Yeah, if you want to call it that, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's what most
and we are dependent.
Apologists call it when they use it.
Sure.
Argument for contingency. Yeah. There must be an on-cause, cause, prime mover, that sort of thing. Is that where this is the terminus of this is ultimately going to be? You know, there must be an on-cause, cause, prime mover, sort of deal.
Okay. Yeah, you've heard.
Is that where we're ultimately landing?
I'm not the only one ever made it, so.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's ever made that. So, yeah, I gather you guys probably heard it before.
Once or twice, yeah. Often.
So, yeah. I guess.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
But here's my question, though. The premise is that we are dependent. And if you go backwards, you know, you had a parent, mom and dad, whether they knew each other or whether they intended to have you or not. Yeah. That's really not the question. You had one. And as you move back, that number gets smaller. That's just math. Exponential growth as you move backwards, exponential, I guess you call it ungrowth. I don't know if that's true. Anyway, you come back to the point where you have a first. I believe that's
sure.
reasonable.
So I guess, okay, I guess where I go with this.
My question is,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'd like to hear your question
my
first,
question
actually.
Is, and it's the same question you've heard 1,000 times, chicken or the egg question. So where do you guys fall on that idea? Because I believe it's valid.
So do you want? I have thoughts, but if you want to go first, Dave.
I'll give you my thoughts. You may not like them, but these are my thoughts about that.
I already hate it.
Well, you probably will. My thought on that is, who cares?
Oh, dude, now you got 2 against 1, man.
Well, my thought on that is, who cares? Because how we got here, I really find that question irrelevant to helping us deal with what we're doing here. We are here. It's like you said, I was born from 2 parents coming together. I understand that. What those parents were like and what they're doing now and whether I get along with them and whether we have a good relationship or not, or whether they're still alive or dead, is not the tantamount question. The tantamount question is, what am I doing with this life that I have? I am here now. How I got here becomes irrelevant at some point. We argue over and over again about there being a God. And like you said, you weren't arguing for the Christian God. And I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, unless we're talking about a specific God and how this God is supposed to interact with his creation, us, humanity, it becomes pretty irrelevant at some point. If there was something that started everything, and we are still figuring these things out and we're learning more all the time about the origins of the universe and these kinds of things, I don't know that it really matters unless we're arguing for or speaking about a specific God and how this God is interacting with us today. Otherwise, it's just a lot of philosophical arguments spinning round and round and coming to no really useful conclusions. Now, that's probably not the answer you were looking for, so maybe Shannon will give you one that might fit your wheelhouse a little better, but that's kind of where I land with this particular argument.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Well, I have a completely different response.
If you want to go ahead.
I figured you would.
Maybe you guys both have.
Yeah. She has the correct response. Mine was just me.
If it's different, can I respond to this one first? Is that okay? Okay. Well, but it's Dave, right? Just make sure I get your name right.
Yeah.
David, right?
Yeah, it's right there on the screen. Dave, yeah.
I believe that your first premise that it doesn't matter. That's what we're talking about. The existence of God and first cause.
No, that's what you're talking about.
And then no, that's what the subject is, the existence of God and how we came into existence, because we are dependent. And
I think you're missing my point, though. Okay, we came into existence. Yes.
Okay, let me ask a question. So are you just saying it doesn't matter to you?
I'm saying, yeah, for sure, it doesn't matter to me. But I think in the broader scope of things, in terms of the lives we're living on the earth today and humanity, how does it affect you in your daily life, whether or not you understand the origins of the universe and how God started everything? How does that affect you from day to day? If it's not a specific God that's calling you to worship him.
Again,
let's hear. You've responded to me. Let's hear what Shannon has to say. I think I may have derailed where you wanted to go with this.
Go ahead. You did.
Yeah, so
that's okay. Go ahead, Shannon.
My response is going to be like a little bit different. So it's whenever I hear contingency type arguments, it seems as though essentially what they're trying to do is just stop an infinite regress. Right. So you're just trying to prevent an infinite regress of causality from happening. So it's not clear to me
I don't need to prevent that. Time prevents it. Sorry, but I mean,
time in its current instantiation, but allow me to, I'll keep going.
Let's let Shannon talk, okay?
Yeah. So it seems as though that.
Interrupt. You guys will.
Right. So we feel as though that there needs to be if we're talking about like within time as it exists in its instantiation now, then you're saying that there needs to be one point at which things initiated, and like that's the best that I can get out of this argument, is that there's an initial starting point. The problem for me is the insertion of cognition. Like you mentioned initially, like your definition of like what God is entailed free will, and free will would require a mind and some sort of cognition and intentionality. So if that is the case, that there is, that there is, a prime mover that has some sort of intentionality towards doing this, then I guess my next question would be like, what is your definition of God? Because if you see God as like a wholly self-sustained, fully contented, like a wholly perfect being, then there would be no requirement to create, because he would have had no desires or needs. And in order to create the entirety of the universe, that would be indicative to me that he had a desire of some sort in order to have the inclination to do so. And somebody who's wholly self-sustaining and perfect would have no such inclination. So it seems to be self-defeating. If that's the case, if that's not your definition of God, it doesn't even require a defeater to me for me not to hold to it, because essentially you're just getting back to the very beginning of time as we knowing it, saying something kicked it off, and then labeling that God. And then you've got all of the hard work to do from there to get to why that God comports with the definition.
Well, that's exactly what I said, Shannon. You just said it a different way.
I just almost peed my pants.
Well, because the point is the same. If you're not defining what this God is and who this God is and how he interacts with us, it's an irrelevant conversation.
But I didn't intend to.
I know, but what's the point then?
I started off that way. I told you I wasn't going to do that.
Well, respond to Shannon. Shannon just lost.
I'm not okay over here.
We've lost Shannon. Respond to what Shannon said. Respond to what Shannon said, Kelly. Respond to what Shannon said.
Okay, so Shannon, you insinuated, and tell me if I got that wrong, that time wasn't really real.
No, I didn't insinuate that at all.
I don't think so either. No,
not at all.
Not at all.
You said something. You said about time.
And its current instantiation.
Basing some of my argument on, we do have a time frame. It had a start.
I'm not contesting that. I never contested that at all. No, it didn't. In fact, I incorporated into my response the assumption that time existed by saying that essentially you're just like you're saying that there can be no infinite regress because of time. So because now that I know that about you and your argument, what I said was, what you're doing is naming the starting point, God. So that's not a contestation of that point. No, so I'm allowing in my response for the existence of time. And my point still stands.
Actually, that wasn't my point. I didn't mention God. I said time restricts infinite regression. That's
right. Sure.
So there's no such thing as infinite regression. Therefore, let me just finish, because I listened to you guys without interrupting, at least not very much. So if there's no infinite regression, then what's the alternative? If there's no
I allowed for that in my response, though. Like this makes me feel like you didn't hear what I was saying, because I allowed for that in my response. Like I granted that in my response. I granted that in my response.
Well, I listened to you, and I listened to you. I didn't interrupt.
But now you're telling me I said something I didn't, so I'm interrupting you to correct you, because it sounds like you didn't listen to my response, because you're attributing things to me that I neither said and have said multiple times throughout.
Well,
actually, that I don't acknowledge and I've granted and don't contest. But you're acting as though not only did I contest them, I didn't grant them, but that I said something entirely different than I did. So that's I'm interrupting because there's no progressing if you didn't listen to what I had to say, and you're trying to tell me that I said something different.
I am listening, and what I'm trying to say is that you guys inserted God again, and all I said was time restricts infinite regression. So therefore, there is a first cause.
Right,
and the first cause, if it's not dependent, which if it's first, then it can't be dependent. Otherwise, you have infinite regression. The first cause is independent.
Sure.
Not
I'll grant that.
Okay, so now what?
And then intentionality.
Why is it God?
Intentionality.
Yeah, why?
You were confused as to why. Let me just finish. You were confused as to why God would be intentional and why he would make creation if he's, as you say, holy. Why wouldn't he? You said he wouldn't. Why would he? And I would ask, why wouldn't he?
But why did I say he wouldn't? And I gave two different scenarios actually. But
no,
why? Let's do a listening test. Why did I say?
Tell her once
why
again
did
what
I
she said.
say that it doesn't make sense that he would? Why?
That is what you said. Why would?
Yeah. Why? In that one of the two scenarios that I laid out. So you didn't listen to what I said. You can't repeat back to me what I said.
I did.
Or you don't want to.
I did actually.
Okay. Why then? Why did I say that? Why? Repeat my why. Why did I say that?
I don't know. That's your mind, not mine.
You did. So you don't know what I said.
You want to tell her what she said, but you didn't listen to what she said.
You don't know what I said. I laid out a scenario for one conceptualization of God, and that conceptualization of God is one that is wholly self-sustaining, right? So a wholly self-sustaining God would be perfectly content, would be perfectly happy, would be all of the perfects, right? And if you're a wholly self-sustaining and already perfectly happy, there is no logical reason. And in fact, it would be intuitively the opposite of a logical reason for them to desire to create anything new or additional, because as they exist in their eternal instantiation, they are already wholly content and perfect. So it doesn't make sense that they would have the inclination to do so.
And intentional to create something. But you're just making that up in your head. That's your opinion.
Oh, why?
That's your opinion. You don't have any back.
It's a lot of philosophers' opinion too, actually.
Shannon, you're making assumptions.
Yes. I'm not making an assumption. I'm making an argument as to why it doesn't make sense.
He doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. Well, that's your opinion. That's not bad.
So why?
So it's a philosophical argument. So you would have to demonstrate. You would have to now you have to demonstrate that there would be that. So that takes away the wholly contented, right? Because it's a refutation. This God, if he is wholly perfect and self-sustaining and wholly content, there is no reason to require anything additional. In fact, the addition of anything, his desire to do anything, allow me to finish, because I don't think you're understanding. The addition of anything, his having a desire for anything, means that he is not already wholly contented and self-sustained. That creation is a refutation to that attribute of God, should you want to give him that attribute, is what I am saying. And you're saying that's an assertion, and I'm saying it's a logical deduction.
Yeah. Tell me why that's not illogical.
Okay,
why that's not logical.
You're not making any better argument than Robin did. You're not making any better argument than Robin did. And my premise was, can choose to do so and has free will and intention. That was my argument.
Right, and I'm saying
Shannon said it doesn't make sense for a perfect, complete being to do that. Tell us why it does make sense. Okay, why does it make sense to you, Kelly? Why does it make sense to you?
Because there's evidence here that, in fact, he did.
What evidence?
The universe is designed for life, number one.
Oh,
our universe is designed for life to exist. That's the Entropic Principle. It's a gift. It's a gift.
I know. I think that you don't have a reputation for that, so now you're back to asserting that there must be a God. The universe existing is evidence for God. Okay, well, if you give God these attributes so that it doesn't make sense, the universe would exist. And you're saying, well, the universe existing is the evidence. And we'll just keep going around and around in circles, because you're saying universe existing is evidence. Then I'm saying, if you give God these attributes, it doesn't make sense that he would even create a universe. And you're saying, well, obviously exists because the universe does. And we could do this for the rest of my life.
We've been looking for evidence, and
we're already over time, and we have one more call to take. So thank you for the conversation, Kelly. I think we've reached the natural terminus of where we're gonna but for today. So maybe call back the next time I'm on and we can continue. So
Yep.
thank you very
Thanks
much.
for
Have a
calling.
good rest of your day.